Okay. So hi everyone, and welcome to the third episode of our webinar series in celebration of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Our today's guest is Dr. Windhya. Dr. Windhya will speak on, towards the towards the cyber resilience with cloud computing, the Canadian effort. So before we start today's webinar, let me give a brief introduction to Windhya. So, Dr. Windhya Rankothge is a research associate at the Canadian Institute of Cybersecurity, aka CIC, University of New Brunswick. She is the leading ADGA CIC research project focusing on the focusing on the cyber risk management of critical operations. Dr. Windhya received her PhD in information technology and communication in the year 2017 from the University of Pompeu Fabra, Barcelona. Her research interests are risk management, network security, cybersecurity, and software-defined networks. Dr. Windhya has published her research work in numerous journals and conferences and is an IEEE senior member. Also, she has served for different international research communities as a reviewer, advisor, and executive committee member. Currently, she serves as the vice chair of IEEE Women in Engineering Region 7 and the secretary of IEEE New Brunswick section. Dr. Vindhya, welcome to our webinar. And at this point, I would open the floor to you. Over to you, Dr. Vindhya.
Thank you very much, Sumit, for the nice introduction. And thank you very much for the opportunity. And it's great to be here celebrating Cybersecurity Awareness Month in October and talking about different topics of cybersecurity. So before we delve into the topic for today, I would like to give a brief background on this topic. So as we all know, we have different opinions on cloud computing, different takes on cloud computing. And as a cybersecurity professional or cybersecurity expertise, I would like to see how cloud computing goes with cybersecurity and how different communities, countries are working towards to make cybersecurity and cloud computing give advantages to different organizations, users, and so on. So let me share my screen first. So I'm going to discuss about the Canadian effort being in Canada, working with Canadian industries towards cybersecurity. I have come across different experiences, how organizations work with cloud computing, how organizations are moving to cloud, and what other organizations are doing to make sure the cloud migration is secure and access is secure, how to train, how to make the employees aware. Towards all these, what is the effort of Canada as a whole country or the Canadian government, Canadian regulations, policies, and so on. So I'm going to discuss about basic cloud computing. All of us are aware of cloud computing, but I will give a general introduction. And what is the strategy of Canada in terms of adopting cloud computing? And what are the mandates, what are the publications, guidelines, regulations given by Canadian government towards different organizations, Canadian government departments, government sectors, and also private and other communities. So they will include direction on the secure use of commercial cloud services, which we call as PIN, Security Policy Implementation Notice. And then we have Canadian Center for Cybersecurity, which especially look at the cybersecurity aspects of Canada. And they also have published several guidelines. I have selected 3 today, which are some important aspects: guidance on the security categorization of cloud-based services, guidance on defense in depth for cloud-based services, and Government of Canada Cloud Guardrails. So as we all know, applications running on the data centers, in physical data centers, such as web servers, mail servers, any application server, and also the network functions such as proxies, firewalls, load balancers, can be moved to the cloud get the service of cloud service provider and run them on virtual machines and pay as you go and use the virtual machine services whenever you like, according to the demand of your organization, demand of your clients, and so on. So when we move web servers, mail servers, proxies, firewalls, load balancers, which include applications and network services to the cloud, there are different advantages that we can gain as an organization. First of all, it is cost efficient because we have to pay only for what we use. It's a pay as you go model. And also it's very scalable. If you want to increase or decrease resources, you can get the service from cloud service provider. You don't have to do it by yourself. And it's very reliable because cloud service providers sign with service level agreement, quality of service agreements, so that they make sure all your services are provided on time according to the agreements that you have. And from the organization perspective, from your perspective, the management is easy because the organization doesn't have any burden on this. Cloud service providers will take care of the management. And also cloud service provider will make sure all the resources are available whenever it is required. Even though cloud computing gives all these benefits, we all know there are some challenges, there are some limitations of cloud computing as well. For an example, security. It's a big debate whether the cloud computing is secure enough to use without any doubt or without any concern. Because a cloud service provider handles the security, he provides security functions, he takes care of the security. So there is a big debate or concern whether we can trust the cloud service provider. And since cloud service providers infrastructure is most of the time shared between different consumers, different organizations, organizations might wonder, do we have enough privacy required for our data, required for our applications, required for our clients? And also governance, whether the cloud service provider is following the required policies, governance requirements, and other regulation requirements according to the regulations provided by different countries, different regions. And also, since it's a shared space, is it safe to share my resources, so share my applications, data with other tenants? And what is the control that my organization has with this data on the cloud? Because the control is on cloud service provider. How he use my data, how he deletes my data, how he recycle my data, or how he use my applications. Are these facts or are these aspects safe? So these are some of the challenges we might face when we use cloud computing. So when Government of Canada wanted Canada departments or Canadian government sector departments and also Canadian private sector to use cloud computing, to migrate to cloud computing so that they can get all the benefits afforded by cloud computing, Government of Canada started the cloud adoption strategy or initiated the cloud adoption strategy in 2017-2018. Latest update is in 2023. So they discuss about different aspects. First, they thought of how to use the cloud in a smart way, cloud smart. And they wanted to see how Government of Canada departments or other organizations can use the cloud using the most appropriate hosting model. As we all know, cloud computing has different offering models: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. So how to use these models effectively and to select the best model that is appropriate for your organization. And value first, in value first, they talk about how we can adapt cloud to reduce the time to deliver. That means to initiate the process, increase the agility, and also to maximize the business values. At the same time, fulfilling the business benefits and business vision and mission. So in the third category, they thought about cloud security, where how we can migrate the applications infrastructure towards zero trust architecture using an enterprise level strategy. So Government of Canada will use cloud service providers. They mainly use AWS and Azure. They have agreements with AWS and Azure, and how to come up with the agreement to meet privacy and security requirements, including data residency and sovereignty, because Government of Canada has data residency regulations, especially for Canadian control goods, where you have to keep the data required for CCG, Canadian control goods, inside Canada. So there are some data residency regulations like that. And next, how we can incentivize cloud. The financial model, which will continuously optimize the cloud consumption and provide the flexibility to adapt to new technologies. Move and continuously improve. How we can modernize the application so that they can easily adapt the higher up stack technologies such as PaaS, platform as service, SaaS, software as a service, and also serverless and containerization. You can prioritize buy before build and also limit the lift and shift approach. Finally, how to invest the talent into the cloud adoption, because sometimes you might have to train your employees, make them aware of the benefits as well as the challenges of moving to cloud. So you have to invest in the in-house team and reskill and let them know how to adapt to the cloud migration, and also maybe hire new resources. And how to deliver with the agility. DevSecOps team especially, and also product management, they require to use these IT services and also to deliver them in the agile manner. And how we can make sure the systems are aligned with the changing policies, programs, and user expectations. So with this Government of Canada cloud adoption strategy, they looked at how clients or the organizations can move to the cloud, use the cloud, and at the same time, how cloud service providers can adapt to the requirements of the Government of Canada. So as organizations, I thought the clients' strategies are more useful or more interesting for us. So I am focusing on today's presentation on the clients' aspects. And the main document or the main publication that Government of Canada Cloud Adoption has for the clients is Direction on Secure Use of Commercial Cloud Services. It can be AWS, Microsoft Azure, or it can be Google Cloud Services. And for any of these cloud service providers' clouds, clients can use this document called Security Policy Implementation Notice, or SPIN. It talks about different things, and it was initiated by the Treasury Board of Canada Secretariat, or we known as TBS, in 2017, and it supports Government of Canada departments so that they can adapt to cloud computing, and they assist organizations for the secure use of cloud, and it can be specially used for the protected B, confidentiality medium, integrity medium, availability. We know as PBMM organizations or PBMM categorized organizations. And also if some of the organizations has protected A information, they also can use this document as a guideline. Not only that, if any organization, any private organization, any non-profit organization also has PBMM kind of requirements, they also can follow this guideline. So it has 3 sectors: how to handle the security operations, how to take care of the information assurance and asset protection, and how to take care of the risk management. Under each risk management, information assurance and asset protection and security operations, This document looks at different aspects, so I will go through one by one very quickly. In the risk management, they have different sub documents which has been provided so that the organizations can follow them. For an example, risk management, they have Government of Canada Cloud Security Risk Management Approaches and Procedures publication, which talks about how risk analysis, risk assessment, and risk management can be done. In the security categorization document, guidance on security categorization of cloud-based services, it guides you to identify what is the security category you required for your organization based on CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability requirements, and then decide what is the security profile you need. Based on the security profile you need, this guideline gives you required step-by-step guidelines so that you can implement required security strategies. And then baseline security controls, there are two documents, Government of Canada Security Control Profile for Cloud-Based Services and Guidance on Defense in Depth for Cloud-Based Services. Both of these documents talk about the baseline security control required for risk management. For the third-party assurance, when you use third-party software, third-party related things, you might need to get the certification or get the assessment done by third party. For an example, ISO IEC 27000 series. If your organization related to health, HIPAA. If your organization is related to financial data, then it is payment card industry data security standard. So all these guidelines can be used to get the third party assurance. And if you want to do a security assessment and authorization, there is a document called Guidance on Cloud Security Assessment and Authorization, which guides you to do the security assessment. And the second category was information assurance and asset protection. It has several subcategories. First one is secure development and implementation. For that, the Government of Canada has provided safeguard fundamental practices for secure software development. ISO IEC 27035 and OWASP as some guidelines that you can follow. And for data residency, the Government of Canada has specific guidelines given by the Government of Canada itself, guidelines on service and digital Government of Canada white paper, data sovereignty and public cloud. For the identity, credential, and access management, you can look at this user authentication guidance for information technology systems. And for network security, there are several documents covering different aspects of network security, cryptographical algorithms, securely configuring network protocols, baseline security requirements for network security zones, network security zoning, how to do the designing part, and also especially cloud service cryptography. For the vulnerability management, ITSP 96 security vulnerabilities and patches, they explain how we can manage the vulnerabilities. And for the personal security, standards on different security screening. Physical security, we have Government of Canada Security Control Profile for cloud-based PCIT services. And also secure accession, you can use IT media sanitation publication. It is known as ITSP 40006. The third category is security operations. Information systems monitoring, there are different monitoring approaches available. For the security incident management, Government of Canada Cybersecurity Event Management Plan can be followed. Now, the Government of Canada has a specific cybersecurity center, Canadian Center for Cybersecurity, also known as Cyber Center. They also look at especially the cloud security aspects, and it was initiated as part of the Communication Security Establishment of Canada. It's the single unified source that you can get expert advice, guidance services, and support services for cybersecurity. When it comes to the cloud services, they also look at client's perspective and cloud service provider's perspective. I will discuss some of the documents provided by the Canadian Center for Cybersecurity for clients' perspectives. And first one is guidance on the security categorization. As I mentioned in the previous slides, it's important to understand what sort of security profile you have for your organization so that you know what sort of security that you have to follow. So guidance on the security categorization of cloud-based services, guidance on defense in depth, maybe layered defense, and also Government of Canada Cloud Guardrails, guidance on cloud security assessment and authorization. These are some of the documents provided by Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity, targeting clients who want to adopt cloud for their organizations. The first one is guidance on security categorization of cloud-based services. So security controls are the main elements that we need in the design of cloud-based services. Sometimes too much protection can increase the cost and also waste the resources. At the same time, vice versa, not enough protection might lead to a lot of vulnerabilities, weaknesses, and put the business processes at a risk. So it's important to understand what category that you fall into when it comes to security. Based on that, you can come up with the security control profile. So security categorization is the process where we need to identify the injuries that could result from different incidents and compromise the business processes, business activities, and related information. So if you want to categorize business processes and activities, we need to know what are the expected injuries that could result from different compromises and different levels of these expected injuries. So when we look at the injuries, we look at three different aspects: confidentiality, integrity, and availability, CIA, the main three components of cybersecurity. So a security category will express the highest level of expected injuries from different threats, different vulnerabilities, respect to confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So as we know, confidentiality is that the data or the information should be disclosed only to authorized principals, authorized people. Integrity, that means you should not allow unauthorized people to modify data. The data or any information should be accurate, complete, authentic, and intact. Availability means data or resources should be available for the legitimate users at any given time they want to use it. Now, Government of Canada provides a security control profile, especially for cloud-based services, which is known as PBMM, protected B, medium, and so on. So I will discuss about it later in coming slides. The next part is cloud deployment model. When you know what category you belongs in terms of security, you can decide what is the cloud deployment model you can use. As we know, there are four main cloud deployment models: public cloud, private cloud, community cloud, and hybrid cloud. Public cloud is shared between different organizations. Private cloud is only for your organization. Community cloud is shared between organizations belong to same community. For an example, university community, financial institutions community, and so on. In the hybrid cloud, you can mix public cloud, private cloud, and community cloud and have a mix of these different clouds. Based on the security categorization of your organization, you can decide which cloud deployment model is good for you. And also the Government of Canada security categorization document provides some guidelines to decide which is the best cloud deployment model for you. And also it helps you to decide what is the service model that is appropriate for you, whether it is infrastructure service, IaaS, platform as service, PaaS, or software as a service. In IaaS, the hardware, facility, resource abstraction, and all managed by the service provider. In the platform as service, the platform, resources, hardware, facility managed by the service provider. And in SaaS, most coming to up to the applications are managed by the service provider. So depending on the security categorization that your organization falls into, this document guides you to select the best cloud service model for your organization. Now, in this guidance on the security categorization of cloud-based services, I mentioned you about the Government of Canada security control profile. One of the security control profiles that they define for the cloud-based Government of Canada services is known as protected B, medium integrity, medium availability, PBMM. It is generally applicable to cloud-based services supporting non-national interest government of kind of program and services, especially programs or services that support sensitive government operations, however, not including international affairs, defense, or federal provincial affairs. If it is defense or control goods, Government of Canada has special program called CGP, Government of Canada Control Good Profile or Control Good Program. So if you handle those kind of information, those kind of materials, you have to follow CGP. This profile is known as PBMM profile, GC Cloud PBMM profile. It talks about several security principles that you have to follow if your organization is under PBMM. Some of them are defense in depth, least privilege, and also to prevent, detect, analyze, respond, recover, and layered defense. How you can provide defense in depth, how you can provide least privilege, how you can provide layered defense. Step-by-step guidelines, requirements, and are provided in this document. And also how you can use security controls to migrate threats, especially the off-the-shelf products, and align the existing cloud security best practices into your organization, and how to have different international cloud security certifications. They talk about several security control families: access control, security awareness and training, auditing, media protection, personal security risk assessment, configuration management, incident response, maintenance. And if you go for SaaS, PaaS, IaaS, cloud service models, what sort of security control profiles or what sort of security control families you should have in your organization. For an example, if you are the cloud consumer, the client, if you select SaaS, and if you go for the application level, the security control families such as AC, that is access control, AU, IA, SC, SI should be the responsibility of you, and you have to handle them. And also cloud service providers also have some responsibilities in SaaS, PaaS, IaaS when they implementing different security controls. The second document that is important for the clients is guidance on defense in depth for cloud-based services. We all know having one defense layer is not enough. We need to go into layered architecture where we have different layers or different levels of security. So there are IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. And depending on what you use, IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS, the responsibilities of the cloud consumer and cloud service provider will be different. For an example, the first layer, Defense 1, and the last layer, Defense 7. In each layer, you have different things to look at, different defenses to implement as the cloud consumer's responsibilities and cloud service provider's responsibilities. In all cases, there should be this multi-tenant isolation. That means even if the cloud is shared by different tenants, different consumers, there should be an isolation between the tenants so that the data, applications, and other resources are not getting mixed. It's the main responsibility of the cloud service provider to ensure that the consumers or the tenants' data, applications, clients, and other things are not mixed. They are isolated from each other. In the layer 1 or the defense 1, we should have security resources, policies, contracts, and also third-party assessments done, so that we make sure we know what we have to do in terms of the governance, compliance requirements, and also other third-party requirements. In Defense 2 or Layer 2, we have to look at the compute and network security. Compute means memory, and virtualization also goes with the memory and network security. Compute level virtualization and network level virtualization, software-defined networks, information virtualization, and how to handle the security of compute and network security is the Defense 2. And in Defense 3 or Layer 3, we have to look at the encryption, especially data security, not only storage level encryption, but also in transit and at rest. How to manage the key distribution, how to manage the encryption and decryption. In Layer 4, Defense 4, we look at identity and access management, depending on the service provider, how to do the management plane, maybe Active Directory, maybe other some kind of multi-factor authentication, IAM authentication, different types of authentication services. And Defense 5, the fifth layer of defense, it's for the application security. Different applications might need different level of application security. For an example, you can do containerization, serverless security. And in Defense 6 or the layer 6, no matter what defense mechanisms or strategies we have to make sure we monitor these defenses, or we monitor these security strategies, and we continue to improve these strategies. So Defense 6 talk about, or the layer 6 talk about monitoring and incident response. There can be endpoint level monitoring, network level monitoring, or high level monitoring, EDR systems, XDR systems. And from the cloud service provider's perspective, you need cloud platform monitoring and incident response. It can be emails, messages, notifying the high level managers. And finally, Defense 7 is you have to manage your endpoint security as well. Maybe to have firewalls in your laptop, monitoring, logging in your laptops or mobile devices. So that all these 7 layers are there, and they cover different aspects of security. And they are implemented as layers so that even if one layer is compromised, we can depend on other layers. So this is a guideline given by the Government of Canada, especially Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity, for the known as IDSP 58104, to implement in-depth for cloud-based services. The next one I'm going to look at is Government of Canada Cloud Guardrails, which is also a publication by Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity for the clients. And in August 2019, Government of Canada established the contracts with the Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure. And they wanted to establish a framework with minimal cybersecurity controls so that the Government of Canada departments can use protected B cloud services. Even though this was focused on Government of Canada departments, this can be used by any organization who has protected B data and want to use protected B cloud services. So from the perspective of Government of Canada departments, they have to implement, validate, and report compliance with these guardrails in the first 30 business days before getting the access to the cloud. Departments are responsible of implementing all these minimum requirements, and validation will be performed by the SSC Cloud Services Directorate. So once the Government of Canada departments implement these guardrails, they have to inform the SSC Cloud Services Directorate so that they can validate the guardrails implementation. So each cloud guardrail has information about the objective of this guardrail, applicable service models, and what are the mandatory requirements, what are the additional things that you can do to ensure this guardrail, some of the references you can follow to implement the guardrail, and security controls from the ITST 33. So there are 13 guardrails looking at different aspects. For an example, protect user accounts and identities, how to have the user accounts and identities secured, and how to manage the access secure, authorization, and authentication, and how to secure the endpoints. Employees might be using laptops, mobile phones to connect to the cloud, how to manage the security of these endpoints, and how to monitor the accounts from the enterprise level in a centralized approach, and the data location, because for some of the data, you might have the regulations that the data might reside inside Canada, and also protection of data at rest, for an example, encryption. When the data is stored, what are the encryption mechanisms that you have to use? And when the data in transit, when you're sending or when you're doing communication, what are the protections, especially encryption? And segment and separate, how to isolate different departments, different zones. And also, what are the network security services that is required, cyber defense services, what are the intrusion detections, firewalls, and other security services you require, logging and monitoring, XDR, MDR, monitoring the devices and monitoring all the devices in the network, and also how to configure the cloud marketplaces to access different services provided by the cloud marketplaces, and also how to plan to maintain these security guardrails continuously. So for each of these cloud guardrails, they talk about the objective, different service models, IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, for which service models these are applicable, and also the mandatory requirements, additional considerations, and some preferences that you can follow. Once these guardrails are implemented, after the first 30 days of businesses, Government of Canada departments are expected to continuously implement the security requirements as outlined in the SPIN document that I discussed earlier, and also in the security control profile for cloud-based services. And also they should engage with the IT security risk management teams so that they can get advice and guidance, especially the Government of Canada Cloud Security Risk Management approach and procedures. Once the 30 days are done, the Shared Services Canada will perform the audits and department tenant environment to ensure the compliance with the guardrails are met and security standards are met. So those are the some of documents that provide by Canadian Center for Cybersecurity when we want to adapt to the clouds. These are published as guidelines for the Canadian government sector, but also they are mentioning that they can be used by any other private sector organization. So I discussed about cloud computing and the basic of cloud adoption strategies, especially in terms of Canadian government, and the main document that they have provided, direction on secure use of commercial cloud services, SPIN document, and some of the sub-documents provided by Canadian Center for Cybersecurity, such as security categorization, defense in depth, and also the Canada Cloud Guardrails. All these documents discuss about different aspects and they are very detailed, easy to follow, step-by-step guidelines are given. So if you're interested in adapting to the cloud, especially moving your on-site data to the cloud, on-site data centers into the cloud, you can start with the SPIN document and then go with the security categorization, defense in depth, and cloud guardrails, and move into the other complicated documents. So that's all from my side today. I discussing about the Canadian effort, especially towards resilience of use of cloud computing in your organization. Thank you very much.
With this, we come to the end of our webinar. Thank you, Windhya, for sharing your insight today. So, this was Dr. Windhya. She spoke on towards the cyber resilience with cloud computing and also the strategies of government of Canada. Towards the cloud resilience. Until we meet the next time, goodbye from my side, Windhya's side, and from Canadian Institute for Cybersecurity. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye.